Peace, and once again, welcome back to Grand Strains, Politics as Usual, and I'm your boy, Juice Warner, and this is Breaking News, right? So today we will be addressing small town cops are quitting in masses as police come under more scrutiny. All right, let me show you this here. Alright, so small town, right? And I'll show you the little badge that they got. This is Getty Image, the situation, right? Okay. Let's get to this article here. Alright. Says small town cops are quitting in masses as police come under more scrutiny. When all 5 full-time police officers in tiny Kenly, North Carolina, handed in their resignations last week, citing conflict with the new town manager, it made national news, right? It's true. I saw it, but this is getting more deeper, right? Hold on, my fault. Let me change this. It says the situation in Kenly is perhaps the most clear-cut example of politics and policing causing the resignation of officers. But some justice researchers believe that taken together, the 3 cases show the increasing scrutiny on police could be leading more small town cops to hand in their badges. Right? But Kenly isn't alone. Earlier this month, the police chief in the only city 2 offices, Springfield, Colorado, population of 1,325, resigned from the force. The chief, Christina Martin, cited personal reasons for the decision while the 2 officers decided to take position somewhere else. All right. On Monday, 5 police officers and the chief resigned from the latter police department in South Carolina, which local media reported could be tied to the controversy around mayoral election in the town of 1,300 people last November. The situation in Kenly, which is about 35 miles south of Raleigh, is perhaps the most clear-cut example of politics and policing causing the resignation of officers. But some justice research believe that taken together with the 3, I guess it was a repeat, officers that increase scrutiny on police could be leading more small town cops to hand in their badges. It was reprint there. I've never seen so much criticism and disdain for the profession of police officers around the country. Also, I've seen in the last 2 years, Mary Haberfeld, a professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York City, who has done extensive work with police forces, tell time police officers are used to this rigid environment when they're being told how to do their job. But I think we've reached a boiling point. Let me tell you something. What's the boiling point is, for me, what I've noticed is seeing cops get found guilty, being a possibility of making national headlines for you gunning somebody down. Nobody is not telling police officers not to do their job. I tell people all the time, I got more conflict with the justice system in the sense of the judge, the DA, who, must make these police officers look good. I have a problem with the correction officers. I have a problem with the Board of Education. I have a problem with the city planners. I have a problem with the whole system. The police officer is a part of that system, and sure, he might be the one that they call when they need to hide behind their wickedness, meaning that he's the veil. You know what I mean? You're not going to give me no problems, the Sharons and the Karens, because I'll call the cops. You see, before the cop get there, these other situations are, just as detrimental, not just walking down the street and getting pulled over by a cop and, the possibility of getting shot, right? I'm saying that, not saying that that's not a possibility in itself. But when you take all of this together, what you call, the young lady who was talking, Maria, right? Saying she never seen such disdain for the police, you clearly only never heard, the black plight. It's been said, after police by NWA, and as always, when you see the black exploitation films, pardon me here, right? When you see the black exploitation films, from Boys in the Hood to something in the 70s, it's always been that same conflict. So you clearly, see this, with rose colored glasses, or the horse blinders, where if it's not, because she dealt with the police, she's probably white, not saying that she is or she isn't, but when you viewing it from that point, sure, the police officer needs to do his job, but the police officer cannot go above and beyond. So if somebody is guilty, they got a gun and this, that, and the third, and you must, take action. Everybody understands that. But we are trying to figure out when it becomes too much. Is policing, do you have to do a George Floyd and kill the people in order, like, what is that necessary when we can watch you not do this to other people? So if your concern is somebody saying that, wait a minute, there's special treatment for everybody other than black, and the blacks are deemed this animal, and so if that's why you're leaving the force, then cool. You clearly was only there to see if you can kill a black person. Right now, if you're leaving for anything other than that, nobody can argue with you. But if your argument is you were not allowed to police in that way, then it's hard for anybody for me, to relate to this argument that you have, this feeling of, oh, I can't do my job. What is your job? Did you, or are you buying into the media yourself and believe that, hey, I can get a job where I can let these niggas, know, this white supremacy, or what? It was there a union where everybody else you can't do nothing to, but these blacks right here, right? And so this is where, I'm looking at this complaint of what is the problem, right? If your problem is simply because, people don't like you, it's clearly beyond the black people, right? You're mad that, people took to the street and felt sympathy, because we watched on camera you kill a man, not you personally, but those groups who killed that man. But we know in the urban community that this is not new. It's something that's been going on. The only reason why we're seeing this, pushback from, these officers is due to the fact that there's an eye watching now. So that's where I'm confused, and like I said, I've been along. I say this way before today. I've been stopped saying after police as if that's the where racism begins and ends, or where the face of white supremacy begins and ends. Right? It helps. It damn sure helps a lot. But if that's the case, when the judges and all of them get put on blast, when the DA and all of them get put on blast, when the school board gets put on blast, when which we see now with the pushback from critical race theory and putting it in conjunction with the gays and all of that other stuff. We have our own plight. Our plight has nothing to do with transgender and all of that other shit. Right? But pardon my language, but because we are saying one thing, all of a sudden that's all bunched in it in order for the people to allow to ignore it. I put it with all of this over here because then we can act like that's it. Like it's like the abortion rights. How is the abortion rights coming and co-signing, or put in this blender with interracial marriage, and it's like grasping for straws. Let me say one thing because this, if I put that in there, it's gonna make all of this other thing, one. Some people are gonna always call you out on that. Now, let me get back into this, right? These resignations come at a time when the question of how police go about their jobs has been a striking point for many citizens. In the wake of the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, one side argued the police are not serving the community well under current policing models. That's a fact. But after post-pandemic crime spike continues, others argue that more aggressive tactics are needed, which is true. Listen. You slacked on doing your job. So when we're saying, other argue the aggressive tactics are more aggressive, meaning not the aggressive tactics that was taken before George Floyd, but because of the fear that you might be on that chopping block, you decide not to do nothing. You can't get paid for doing nothing. So yes, you have to be more aggressive. You have to take more of a stance, and then this pandemic of a crime wave. But at the same time, if you like, okay, I seen on the news, I believe it was in New York. I think it was today actually, where there was some where police officers saw a robbery and they intervened and wound up getting into a shootout with the criminals. Right? That's if whatever happens to those criminals, you gun one of them down. Nobody is looking at you saying, "Hey, you did something wrong." I'm not. You understand what I'm saying? Because I understand that you need to defend your life just like anybody else. If they felt like they needed to defend their lives, so they letting their guns off, because you got a badge, all of a sudden you don't need to defend yours. We're saying if you are not in harm's way, why are you gunning down people who are not a threat? Those are two different things. Altogether, you are in a threatening situation. We understand that. Me, even as somebody who, quote unquote, a criminal, would understand if you need to defend yourself. But if I am not a threat to you, I don't shoplift, but say if I was shoplifting and gun me down for a loaf of bread, that shit don't make no sense. Gunning somebody down because they're jogging, gunning somebody down because you asked them to go get their license and registration, and as they reach, you say, "Oh, they got a gun," and shoot them. Oh, he was high, and and all of these excuses. I was reaching for my taser and I gunned them down. Oh, I went into the wrong apartment. Those are not excusable. Those are not logical, and those cannot be accepted because those are clearly assassinations. You know the difference because here it is. I've watched videos of two cops wrestling with a guy, and he winds up getting in their car and driving off. There was no, gunplay with that. So that's what we are talking about. And I think that this is where there's a deliberate misunderstanding taking place, because you know that here it is, some young kid goes into a mall or a school or shopping center, whatever the case, and shoots it up, and because they're white, okay. But then here goes somebody who simply might be telling you you're an asshole. Bang. His words is more dangerous because it's towards you personally versus all of these people getting shot, but he can walk away okay. That shit doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And anybody has a right to argue that, right? It's still not entirely clear. It's still not entirely clear in the town of Kenley, which is home to fewer than 1,500 people. On July 20th, Kenley Police Chief Josh Gibson, four other full-time officers, and two town clerks all submitted their 2 weeks notice. The department will run by three part-time employees when the officers officially leave in August 3rd, on August 3rd, right? The department sends a message to the community that we as a police force were not being taken seriously by politicians. See, this is where, it comes in. It's not even caring about the citizens. This is why I hold the DAs and the judges and them accountable as well. Because that's all politics. They get voted in, and so they need to, keep the citizens happy. The citizens are telling you, wait a minute, there's an eye on us. We can't be allowing that anymore. And so then the police go, wait a minute, well, this is the only way I was ever taught to police. Kill the blacks. Haberfeld says, there's no doubt in my mind that this is related to a different version of what policing should be. Right? The discussion to quit the force came just months after Justin Jones, the new town manager, was hired. In the resignation letter, the officers expressed concern over their work environment, with many of them describing it as hostile. I have enjoyed my time working at Kenley Police Department and had fully intended to remain employed with the town, but unfortunately, decisions are being made which make me question what are the features, what are the future, what the future will hold for all town employees. Gibson, who has been the chief for over 20 years, see, he's used to that mentality, said in his resignation letter obtained by WRAL TV. Gibson also said that the department is short staffed. The police department is supposed to have 8 full-time officers, he added, and that the environment created by Gibson made it difficult to perform his duties. Other officers said they can no longer work under the stress and decision are being made which make me question what the future will hold for all town employees. Neither Jones nor the mayor responded in Time's request for comment. The city is going to have to start by figuring out what happened. They need to investigate this. They need to interview the officers who left. They need to talk to the city manager before they can come up with any kind of solution to solve the problem and prevent it from happening again. I agree with that. Jack and Tina Gao, right? A criminal justice professor in the University of Central Florida says Johnston County Sheriff Office said that it will cover the town and address any public safety concerns that may arise. Still, people in the community was distraught when the announcement was made. They're not just town police, Nancy Cates said, a Kinley resident said last week. Cates, a Kinley resident, said last week, according to ABC 11. They're our family. Do you understand? That's why I say that this is deeper than just the police force. It's the thinking of those, the what do you call it, Sharons, Karens, Darrens, and Bills, and these people who hide behind that system, right? So this is their family, right? Town leaders in Kinley had an emergency meeting last week where residents had a chance to voice their concerns. Some residents defended the city manager, while others pointed out that she seems to be against the police department, or against that kind of policing, what they really mean. Law enforcement defenders have framed this incident as an example of what they say is a national trend of police officers quitting their jobs due to the level of scrutiny that's been aimed at them over the past couple of years. That's what it really is. However, numbers don't fully back up that assertion. That said, cities including New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Washington, D.C. have reported trouble filing vacancies on their police force. The town meeting was supposed to reconvene this week in Kinley, but the city council decided to wait until after the town attorney completed an investigation into what happened. The investigation will begin next week. Right? And so, with that, I'm going to just say what I already said. Listen, if you listen to what is being stated by the people, you would understand that they all hide behind this police system. So while everybody is screaming after police, I'm pointing out all of the systems that use this police force to enforce their wicked way of thinking. It's like the president using the military and, his power to incite the January 6th insurrection. It's that same mentality. You will look at, all of those people who went there, they're guilty, but we still have to understand who is, inciting this and how the inciting occurs. Once you pay attention to how you get these people to do what you want, you don't excuse them, but you are allowed to show them as well. You are allowed to ask when they come into these systems, their mindset, and I mean beyond just the police force, their understanding of their place in society, who they associate with, that mentality, right? What type of movies they like, take a questionnaire. Hey, what kind of movies you like? What is your favorite cop movies? And you would understand, their mentality. What's your music? Do you like this kind of music? When you listen to, even if they listen to hip hop, or come across it, what do you feel about it? What do you feel that says about that community? These are the mindsets and where you can understand if they feel fear because, inside their personal opinion, which I can relate to, well, this music states this, not the music of today, because this all, you know, fruity bagooty, as I would like to say. So, but if they're from the older 20 generation, like, the chief was, 20 years, inside of his mind and what he has been programmed to, you might come into this natural fear. Oh, well, because, according to this is what they do. This is what they have. This is what I see even in other towns. And you have an idea of their thinking, not excusing them, but you have an idea of what they are going into. And that way you can make the wisest decisions on who you should let on this force. With that being said, yo, I'm out. My name is Juice Wanna. This is Grand Strange Politics as usual. Wow.